Got a celeriac from the market and wanted to cook up something pretty warming but wasn't really sure what direction I'd take things. Whenever I'm using root veg like this, I tend to get it cooking first, then work my way out from there, using it as a foundation as I go. While I cut it up into chunks, I had to think about where to go next. Celeriac roasts up really nicely as the sugars respond super well to dry heat, so I tossed them with oil and salt, then got them roasting in the oven. At this point, I thought some sort of play on cauliflower cheese but using celeriac instead might be quite nice. I knew the celeriac would have to sit in some sort of amped up white sauce, so I got an onion chopped up along with some garlic and got them sweating as I didn't really want the sauce to have that much colour. I messed up here and left the onions and garlic on for a little too long. When sweating vegetables like this, it's important to keep the heat low and move everything quite regularly to keep them soft, sweet and colour free. I also clocked that my celeriac was looking pretty brown and caramelised. All of this flavour and opportunity reminded me of a caramelised artichoke puree I used to make in restaurants. I thought that if I made a silky, thick, caramelised soup using everything I had and all the flavour that had developed, it would be a really nice warming thing. I grabbed some pork stock from the freezer, defrosted it in the microwave, then tipped the celeriac into what would have been my white sauce base, and deglazed the celeriac tray with the defrosted pork stock before tipping that into. To the pot I added some boiling water to take the intensity down a little, then allowed the soup to simmer while I had to think about how to balance everything out. I grabbed some bits in the fridge that I knew could add texture, acidity and a little spice to the picture. I squeezed out a couple of merguez sausages into a small frying pan. Pork and celeriac work really well together, and I knew some crispy, spicy sausage could cut through the soft, comforting soup nicely. For acidity, I cut a crisp apple into strips. To amp up the apple flavour and acidity a little more, I grabbed some apple cider vinegar I've been making and tossed it with them. Celeriac, pork and apple all get on really well, but I wanted to add a bit more interest. I had a horseradish kicking around and knew that a couple of bits blended into the soup could level things up a bit. When used like this, it can be a really subtle earthy back note. Once the celeriac was ready, I added it to a blender with the horseradish for spice, thick double cream for softness and a bit more water for texture, then blitzed it until silky smooth. I poured the soup into bowls, topped with a sausage, semi-pickled apple and a bit of that super interesting vinegar.